we used to have, no? We sometimes we'd watch a movie, and sometimes at the end of it or during the week, I'll stop it and we talk a bit about it, no? So we can't remember what we talked about particularly. We talked about so whatever the gist of it was, the finding, it has transformed from ideas into subtle form of understanding that remain inside you, but you don't know what it is anymore, isn't it?
Yes.
You see, I mean, at the time you had a more clear conceptual understanding of what was being said, but as time went on, it seems to dissolve it as ideas, you know, and then they became sort of subtle form of energy, which you know, in some way affects your dynamic energy field. You became lighter. The whole purpose of these interactions, satsangs, is to heighten the consciousness and to move it away out of the domain of the sort of person and into the domain of presence. Becomes lighter because the person consciousness uses the mind a lot as a kind of bank to store information and to give it the sense that the world you see, that we can learn about it. But the world we see is not a fixed thing. It's always changing. And the one who is learning is also part of the change as well. So the whole thing is changing together. But in the memory has the ability to make a kind of psychic photograph and to give the impression that your memory is solid, but it's not solid. You know, so the best way of using this memory, because you can't retain all this information. The people who can retain information get stagnant, they stagnate. The information has to transform into kind of spiritual energy. And that energy either takes it sort of to raise the consciousness into a thinner atmosphere where it becomes more what I would call spirit. But if it doesn't do that, you know, it can also stay in a kind of mental field as well too, which is kind of just, you know, more like carbon monoxide than oxygen, if it only stays as a kind of mental energy. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Because there are schools of thought, in a way, you can say. If we say, suppose we said, we take for instance, we accepted that Adam and Eve, the first man and woman, was say 30,000 years ago. As a number, we don't know. People speak all different things. Some people say it was, you know, 7,000 years ago, 11,000 years ago. Some say it was 3,000 years ago. Some say 2,000 years ago. There's different schools of thought, so none of them can be. We don't know who they are. But let's say we could measure that it was, say, 10,000 years ago. Now, suppose you look up in the heavens and you see a star, which is, say, 10,000 light years away. So it would take 10,000 years for the light leaving that we are seeing. The light takes 10,000 years to travel from that star to your eyes. It takes 10,000 years. So it could even be that, say, the star might have died 5,000 years ago. But because the light takes 10,000 years to travel, then in a way you're still seeing a light, but the star is not there anymore because it's still traveling, the light is still going. So using this kind of light theory, we could say, if you can look towards a star, that's 10,000 years, light years away. So it takes 10 light years away. So then in that case, we are looking from here to the star, and that's 10,000 light years away. Then if we reverse it so that we were looking from the star at the earth, then you'll be able to see Adam and Eve move in the Garden of Eden in the same way that we are seeing the physical light of the star, isn't it? If you could reverse that. So if we were on the star, the image you would see on the earth is of this guy and this woman in this garden. You know, we are their descendants, you know, great 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 grandchildren. Okay, to 10,000 years now we are here now, and there's some seeds from the thing. So they have not had any children yet, but we are 10,000 years later on. There are so many generations ahead. We are the offspring. 8 billion human beings is the offspring, the children of Adam and Eve now, plus billions who have gone and passed already. But they are still virgins there in Eden. And so if we were to be able to be on the star looking, what we would see, like what we are seeing, is a star, a planet that's, say, 10,000 light years, to be able just to see it. We could be seeing a movie, or seeing not a movie, but the actuality of Adam and Eve going. Now, these things are fascinating to human consciousness, but it's kind of rubbish. It's all in the mind, you see. But because the human being love, and we're fascinated by the whole expression of creativity and creative thinking, because consciousness loves to create. And in the forms it loves to create. We're creative beings. We want to create. We want to do. We want to. And time. We need time to create, and we need memory to remember what we created, and how we created, and to inform what we want to create next time, and so on. So, this is a whole expression of the consciousness in its human expression. So, what has happened then for the human beings who are, in a way, reversing that momentum to create, but they're not doing it deliberately. Let's say we want to reverse creativity. They just want to find the truth. But in just finding the truth, because if you want to reverse creativity, you have to use some anti-creative principle, which is still some kind of concept also. But the one who realizes the truth is not trying to do anything like that. They just have an urge to know what is real. So in a way, this is what makes us enjoy these movies, in a sense, because the mind can create infinite rooms of possibilities of ways it can create. And so it talks about, the kind of the consciousness and the subconscious and the subconsciousness, and these different stratas of consciousness, which functions in different time frames. But even in our time frame, there are species who have a different sense of time, like an insect who just lives for a day. But that day has the same value and wholeness of a human life that lives for 70 years to them or something. So we can play with these ideas, but at the end of the day, what do we have? Because also the dreamer sort of comes to an end of their dream, and then somehow, in a sense, you can say we wake up into another state. But it's also a dream also. Is it possible to escape all of that? Even while in the dream, in a sense. Some aspect of us is in the dream. But if totally it was dream, then it wouldn't be called dream. If it was totally dream, everything is dream, we wouldn't know anything about dreaming, in fact. It would just be so much, just not. And whose dream would it be? So we said it's God's dream.
I didn't understand what you said. No, we wouldn't say it's a dream. What did you say?
If it was truly a dream, so that every aspect of ourself is dream. There was no such thing as something that's beyond the dream. Then it wouldn't be known as dream. You understand? We could not.
Reality, no?
Huh?
It would be reality.
We wouldn't even know it's reality, because reality is relative to dream. There has to be, some interrelated opposite. Just like you cannot say something is large unless you know the sense of what's small or something. We need these opposites to have a gauge to read. You need a scale to kind of read the weight of things. So we can go into this, and I know people who, they're like, what do you think I'm going on? The physics of life, But at the end, they're still miserable and still confused and put their head in ovens and stuff and jump out of windows and stuff. Yeah.
It's like the attention cannot be fixed on it. It comes in a flash, and like a lot of seeing can happen, but like there's no, like the attention cannot stay on it. So
It is good why the attention cannot stay in it.
because there's
Because
such contentment.
yes, when you are beginning to discover yourself, but there are people whose attention can stay on it. The attention can stay and keep on moving deeper and deeper into the inner world of the mind, and can go into these kind of concepts and play with them. In the end, the world that we call now the actual world, whatever that is, which is still very much interpretive, you see, but the layer on which we are living and coexisting and so on, their lives seem to be incompetent on this level very often because they have no value of this. This is too mundane for them. So they create a world, but the world is inside the mind. I know a few. And they live in this world of the mind. When they go inside, it's like they're on a trip or something, and they're in this, and they can just be in this. Whether it's like looking through a book or watching movies, but they use it as a kind of gate to go into this world that they can be in this. The internet has been a big door for many people who want to escape, but they want to escape into regions of sort of psychological, mental worlds, sci-fi imagination, go back into time imagination, and so on. It's very, very different from the mind of a sage. Very, very different altogether. And can you discern these things? Because when you meet the people, what is a simple thing you will know? What is a simple, what is the 1 second thing you will know? How will you know? You don't have time to think. How would you know? Energetically. Energetically. Because the vibration of the spirit is absent from these mental worlds. Very flat. Beings who live in God don't live only on oxygen. They live only in the oxygen of the spirit. They don't live in oxygen. They're not living only as body mind. They're somehow another life. If you can look at in a way, the traffic of thought, let's create the image of human beings in their mental patterns. You can see the traffic of thought. Sometimes you see these films of a city and cars and stuff moving. It's all speed. And then you can see something just moving very slowly, or something still, in relation to all the things that are. It's almost as though the mind of an awakened being is like that stillness. But at the same time, its dynamic expression can be part of everything. But it is at the same time the root of that stillness. Not necessarily physical stillness, but internally. Even I don't have to call it stillness because it cannot be other than stillness. Stillness implies almost an anti-action, but it's not an anti-action. It's not like the subtlety you would perceive through a non-action. Because it's still related to action. And the self is, although we have to use the words, like it's unmoving and non-moving, but there are qualities and it has no quality. And how we know this? Because we are this. And this is why it's difficult to say, oh, people say, oh, but I just still, I listen to you and I find all these things, but I still don't know what I am. I said, yeah, you want to use your mind to know. You cannot know through the mind. It's not a kind of knowing like that. Like you and you knowing the self. Like it's not, you are the self. And that simple thing is all the difference it is that to know is to be. And neither of them are verbs. It's not an action taken. Now, how can these things I'm speaking be living? You know, how can it be? I cannot say converted into, but how can it be alive? So it's not just merely theoretical. That is not merely off the mind like we were talking about. That is not just another kind of possibility of thinking. How would you know that it's not just another possibility of thinking, another avenue that the mind can go? Like we're looking at this film, this Inception or something, that is looking into these, like, the playing. I mean, of course, for me, I see just a movie and it's fun. But some people take this thing very, very seriously and they want to research it. Like I watched one documentary, and it's now it's a big thing actually. I don't know how it is now. It was big business some while ago that people who were sick, late stage of sicknesses, then and maybe not so late actually, because they invite people who are not so late, but who have a terminal case, to accept freezing their body into this with this I don't know what is the thing they call, you guys probably know.
Cryogenics.
Huh?
Cryogenics.
Yeah, okay, so that they put them in some deep thing, freeze, so it arrests the condition. So at some time in the future, when we find a cure for this thing, they can re-stimulate the vital organs and bring you back to life and cure your body so you can continue living. Because this, I feel, is the fear in the human being. They don't want to come to an end. They don't want to come to an end because they believe they can come to an end. But they want to stay forever as the thing that must come to an end. But there's something that doesn't come to an end, but they can't find that out. So they believe that only the body-mind is there, and we see that somehow something comes to an end, the person come to an end, the relationship seems to come to an end, everything come to an end, and they don't want to come to an end. And if anyway, that even if they could restore these bodies in 50 years from now, those relationships won't be there for you. Unless your whole family and all your friends are going to the same treatment. There's so much in the playground conceptually for a human being. I feel, you see, that we are hugely fortunate to be drawn into towards the realization of the self. Because there are so many areas the mind can go, your attention can go, the spirit can, you assuming the form of a person in the body-mind realm, can be floating in those kind of galaxies for quite a long time, on these realms for a very long time, which probably we have been doing, I don't know. But those who are in there, you see, like I hear they use idea, they research these things, no? Like when I said to you that, only when you're coming out of a state you can reevaluate it. When you're in the state, it seems totally real. Only when you're leaving it, then you can say, oh, wow, that was so and so. I heard him say that in the film, like things like this. And that when you're in a state that you identify with, it's totally real. It's just, this is what your life is, your reality. It's only if you're lucky to be leaving that state in a really powerful way, profound way, then you can realize that that state was a limitation. While you're in it, it seems like it's everything, like it's universal, that it's unending. Coming out of it, it's like it's just a bubble. So, oh my God, I'm glad, you know. You know, your world is your village. Your real world is your village. The rest is just what you hear about, and people traveling from those places coming to your village give you a sense that those places exist. Wherever you live is always the center of the world until you begin to travel and you say, oh my God, the world is a big place, you know. And then there's Chinese people. It's a Chinese. This is really the land of the Chinese. These are real. Everybody's Chinese here. Wow. You go to India. All people are Indian. Look at them. Their face looks so different. They are so alike. They're like, and all the Chinese are so alike but different. And you know, sometimes people have these kind of reactions. You know, when they come from a place they're not used to at first, but very quickly they get used to it because the mind, the power of the conscious is so powerful. You know, if aliens come,
But I'm very, very far away from my body now. Like, I don't have anything to do with it's like it's very pleasant, but it's very far away. Anything in this.
But yeah, just here.
I'm like,
You're only just here. You're just here.
Yes.
Yeah, this is it.
It's like I had the same experience came to me the other night. Like everything just became like no body feeling, just space. But I saw that body seeing that. It was seeing here. Like it's just this qualityless. This is what I am, this qualityless, and it cannot travel. It cannot. It's not in space, far away. It's just this, and that it was so nice to feel that it's not an experience. It's not an experience.
Yeah.
It's true, Samadhi.
Yes, you're just here.
Yes.
The sensation you can feel. Something feels like it's floating away or something like this. So you're just here. The sensation is a sense of maybe floating away. You're just here. You see? I'm not saying that if aliens arrived here, like I said before, no? And then everybody would be, my God, it's news all over the world that now it's got nothing to do with the American government concealing everything. They're actually here in Portugal. They're walking around in Lisbon, and people come all over the world to go and see them and shake their hands and see them in the supermarket and all this kind of stuff. And you know, after 1 month,
No big deal.
no big deal. No big deal. Our minds have gotten used to it. I mean, if some is coming, there's some coming to see us in, you know, Alentejo. You know, let's go and see them. But we know now that they're around now and stuff like that. And that's more are coming. A new lot is coming to Spain next month. Oh, the Spanish are very happy. See what they're going to be. Are they nice? Are they nice? Are they very nice? Do they look like you? Do they look like you? Oh, no, they're a little different, a bit taller. Oh, be curious for a bit. But we accept because the consciousness is so adaptable. This is why it's so important that when we listen to these things, we don't go with imagination. Just listen in the space of the being.
Tamena characharam tat padam darshitam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha